Minnesota and Montana have only one mission today: to play the best they've played all season. Will it result in a victory to close out the 2025 campaign? Dakota is locked and loaded into the 3 seed, tuning up for 6-seeded Vegas in the wild card round. Portland already got the news they're out. Which team will find more motivation tonight? In the biggest game on the docket on game night, Cincinnati is trying to wrap up their division without question, as Motor City awaits their primetime opportunity. Will Chicago be able to bounce back from their Mustangs shocker last week? We'll watch it all tonight in the virtual zone. Eventually, when you can see. Week 17 continues right here on VFN. Sit back and enjoy the glory of 3 times the football has. 90 minutes of UFL football starts right now. Apologies for the errors in graphics there, but Minnesota, Montana, Portland, Dakota, Cincinnati, and Chicago are underway as we have 8 games remaining in the UFL's inaugural 2025 campaign. 256 game season almost wrapped up. Here's a look at the updated playoff picture. We've got a lot settled. The West is done, as Portland unfortunately did not end up having anything to play for here tonight. Could have finished 8-8. Of course, they had every opportunity to beat Dakota a couple of weeks ago and could not get it done. So it's the Huskies officially eliminated from the playoffs. Dakota is locked in at the 3 seed. Whether they win or lose, they will be taking on Vegas. There is, the West is all sorted out. Salt Lake hosting Phoenix, San Diego hosting Fresno, Dakota hosting Vegas, Austin hosting Los Angeles, Austin, LA, and Dakota, Vegas did not play this season. Fresno, San Diego, the only divisional matchup that's been decided, so that'll be their 3rd meeting. And then Phoenix played Salt Lake very close, 16-10, as Jason Williams bouncing off of a number of tacklers for Montana, picking up 25 yards on his first carry for the Silvertips. Hopefully the Hugo numbers are kinder to you tonight than they were last game night. Just 21 numbers called last go-around. The Cincinnati playoff picture is interesting, as Mac Chima gets it across the 50 to the Chicago 47. Cincinnati technically hasn't clinched their division, but I mean, it's basically, they've basically clinched. Cincinnati is 9-6. Motor City's 8-7. Let's say Cincinnati were to lose to Chicago, Motor City were to win, they would both be 9-7. Cincinnati would have a 6-6 conference record. Motor City would have a 6-6 conference record. So it goes to RPI, and right now, Motor City is 465 and Cincinnati's 514. That is an extremely wide margin for this late in the season. So while Cincinnati is not officially clinched, they've basically clinched. Now they can 100% clinch with a win tonight in Chicago. Just one of either inside, think outside the box. So on the 4 corners, it would be the 4 numbers directly in the corners on each corner. So not a corner square, but the 4 numbers directly in either corner. I think they're ruling that Portland punt was downed at the 1-yard line. It certainly looked like the ball was spinning on the goal line. Let's see what they rule there in Dakota. Yeah, they're putting it at the 1. That's a pretty bad spot for the Rhinos, as they'll hand it off to Larry Seitz. He's dropped in the end zone, and can you believe it? Our first number of the night is 2 on a safety. That might be the first time that's happened all season long. Blake Green's got Montana into the red zone down to the 4-yard line. The Silvertips have had a tough season. They are at the bottom of the league along with Chicago at 3-12. Both teams trying to finish out on a high note. Whoever potentially finishes last would have the number 1 selection in a draft. Thinking about what the draft might be, I was talking with Houston's locker room tonight, and we were talking about the idea of homegrown players. Essentially, you know, a team has an opportunity to build at a position that they feel like needs the biggest difference, needs the biggest change, and then the team essentially helps build that player together. We you know, help build to a certain overall or a certain skill set that would match that type of draft pick, etc. And then we build those players so that the users actually have influence in building your future teammates and future claimed players in the league as well. Let me know what you think of that idea in the chat. 3rd and goal at the 1. Montana is stuffed. That was Buchanan with that last carry as the Silvertips try to score on an opening drive. I don't know that Montana has done that much all season. They'll hand it off to Jason Williams, and he is stopped at the line of scrimmage. What a goal line stand for Minnesota as Allen is on the tackle. We'll see what Montana does on 4th and goal from the 1. Cincinnati is at the Chicago 28 on a 2nd down and 13. It looks like Montana's going to take the points. So on an 18-yard field goal, that kick is good, and 3 is off the board as well. Montana with the first offensive points of the game. It's 4th down and 1 for Portland at their own 34. That was Malachi Pfister making the play in the backfield along with a teammate. Teray Wright went nowhere fast. Nobody blocked him. JJM Director, Talons #1. Yes, they certainly are right now. It's not a guarantee, though. Dallas needs a win or a Miami loss on Friday night, the final night of the UFL regular season, to determine who gets the #1 seed in the East. And for the 2nd time in the 1st quarter, Portland pins Dakota inside the 5-yard line. Yeah, that's what I was thinking, Wiseman. This is a 56-yard field goal for Cincinnati, and it just crossed the bar. That's 51 plus off the board, and the Vultures get the first points of the night in Chicago. We have seen some long field goals made in the UFL in Week 17. That is, I believe, the 3rd of over 56 yards, or 56 yards or more. As that's Lyons with the carry, sparing Liam Seitz. And down the sideline is Ross, picking up 25 on his first carry. So Antonio Ross and Jason Williams in the Minnesota-Montana game each have 25-yard carries to start their team's drives. Mike Roberts comes out there for Chicago. The Dragons last week, if you missed the thrilling conclusion to Chicago and Motor City, it might have been one of the most exciting final 4 minutes of the season. And I say if you missed it because I missed it. That was during the power outage night here when we had some really bad storms. Corey Preston with a big run. That goes for 24 on his first carry. So we have 3 running backs on their first carry tonight on game night go for 20-plus yards, and Chicago's up to midfield. But Chicago lost to Motor City 27-34 after thumping Minnesota 38-17. The Dragons, ever since naming Corey Preston the starter, ever since reshaping their defensive scheme, have really looked like a totally different team. And it'll be interesting to see how the Dragons rebuild goes, along with Montana and Minnesota, the 3 teams at the bottom of the UFL standings, all in action right now. Minnesota's got a 3rd down and 2, and the handoff goes to Dalton Brown. He's got plenty of space. Minnesota up to the Montana 31-yard line. Dakota trailing 2-0 early on, and Liam Seitz up the middle has a run of 14 yards, 31 yards on his first carries, or on his first 4 carries, as Dakota and Chicago are across the 50 with their rushing attack. I don't know if any of you have caught my unsavory day at work. Dalton Brown picks up 9. Would appreciate all you being here with me tonight as scheduled. Billy Flagg on the run, getting to the 23-yard line of Portland. Deep shot for Chicago. That pass is incomplete. Almost picked off. That was Roberts' first pass of the night. Minnesota's inside the red zone. Down to the 16-yard line, picking up 6. Yeah, I love the autopsy of my working existence that ended in a bloody death, apparently, according to some. As Doug Falk hits his son Tyler Falk right at the goal line at the 1. So Minnesota almost into the end zone for the score. As that punt for Chicago goes out of bounds at the 2. Looking at Falk here on the sideline. As Seitz gets inside the 10. Now Dakota is in the red zone. Oh, we get a pylon cam here from Tyler Falk. And you can see Tyler did not get in the end zone because Montana's defensive player hit the pylon with his kneecap. First and goal at the 1. Ooh, I like the question, JJ. We're going to dissect that here in a moment. There's a penalty marker in the Minnesota game. Cincinnati trying to avoid a safety. They do for now up to the 4-yard line. Illegal touching on Tyler Falk. Yes, I would agree, Mr. Official. Tyler has had plenty of illegal touching here recently. Second and goal at the 1 for Minnesota as far as I'm concerned. Doug Falk throws it to the goal line. That is caught for a 1-yard touchdown. Hauled in by Bradley, the second tight end, and 1, 2, and 3 are off the board as Minnesota gets our first touchdown on the board today. And that is another great pylon cam, and you can see that ball was over the line of scrimmage. Chicago's defense forces a 3 and out. So JJM Director says, what was the first sports game you ever simulated? My first was Baseball Stars on NES, full custom league. Crazy. Then got a PC and Front Page Sports Football 96 was amazing. What about y'all? Wide open, touchdown Dakota. The Rhinos are on the board. That one goes for 15 yards. There was nobody on him. Another blown coverage in the red zone. A weird spread tonight so far here on game night. 2, 3, 18, 51 plus 1, 15, 7. As Dakota will trot out the special teams unit and kick the extra point. Anyway, back to JJ's question. I think the first sports game you ever simulated, I think that it was Blitz the League 2, which I know is not anywhere near close to Baseball Stars. But I remember you could not play that game. You could not simulate it. There was no user v user. And so at one point I was playing a season where I was just playing both offenses every game just for fun. But when I actually started simulating results, I used the playoff bracket feature, which there you could simulate different results and different things. So I think it was Blitz the League 2, and that was the first website I put up. I put up the scores and the standings and the logos and all that, and one day someone commented on the website, hey, you know what happened in last night's games? And I thought to myself, I didn't realize anybody cared. And that's when kind of the initial idea was born that maybe other people might care about the simulations that we're running around here. And here we are today in 2025 as Portland's got a first down up to the 44-yard line. So Minnesota and Dakota get touchdowns. Mike Roberts and Chicago trying to be the next team to get a touchdown. They're up to the Cincinnati 27-yard line. A Contested catch out there for Marcus Lloyd. What's up, Miles? Let's see, Dakota is out of the red zone here. Portland has the ball on their own 44-yard line. Montana's got a punt. So let's go to Chicago, where the Dragons are at the Cincinnati 27-yard line. Roberts fires that incomplete. It'll be second down. Pretty unusual that we have 3 games going on right now, and really the only real source of impact in this game is obviously who would get the #1 pick in the draft, Montana or Chicago, as Roberts' pass is again low and away but incomplete now, 2 of 5 passing today. And then can Cincinnati 100% secure their division? Milwaukee, or Motor City rather, tonight is hoping for some kind of miracle math. But either way, coming up in prime time, that's the big game of the night as Roberts goes down to the near side. That pass is caught to the 1-yard line. So Stewart with the catch. Chicago is deep into the red zone as they try to get the goose egg off the board. They are the final team to score this evening. Doug Falk taking off. And Falk inside the 50. Nice run for 22 yards. And the Chippers have a first down. Teray Wright trying to bounce it outside for Portland to the 25. What's up, Tyler? As Roberts from 1 yard out scores. Chicago with a touchdown, and our second 1-yard touchdown of the evening. Yeah, JJ, Madden on the PS2 was great too. You make all those creative teams, and yeah, you just build it all. It was great. There was a particular Madden on PC. It was the one with Vic on the cover. Was that 5 or 4? But that game was a lot of fun on PC. That's the only football game I ever really played on PC. As the extra point for Chicago is good. Tyler Falk is across the 35-yard line of Montana into scoring position as they wind down to the end of the third quarter. 4, yeah. Oh, there's a fumble. Emmanuel Blackman got the ball stripped away. Did he recover his own fumble? That might be a first this season. We got to get another look at that. Mordecai Pfister ended up making the eventual tackle. But watch this. Blackman, there was a corner or safety blitz there, and the ball's rolling around, and Emmanuel Blackman gets up and scoops up his own fumble. How about that from Emmanuel? Good hustle. But he is brutalized in the backfield by the Rhinos defense. This is Doug Falk on the run inside the 30 down to the 26-yard line to end the first quarter. Now Emmanuel Blackman going to the end zone, wide open, and he was standing out of bounds. Oh my goodness, that is just devastating. Blackman had a wide open target. And if you had 22 on your Yugo cards, that is about as bad of a beat as you can have, and now it's fourth down. Miles says the third greatest video game, sports athlete of all time. Iggy, first sim I ever ran was a demo mode on one of the Maddens on PS2. Yeah, it's incredible. Simulations are really something else. It's like you're watching a real game, and for a lot of you, it's been real for many years. 39-yard field goal is good, and we now have a 5 on the board. 5 and 39 off the board. This is going to be a wonky night, folks, and that's usually good news for you guys. Yeah, Tyler, I think a lot of us have. happy you're in the club as Minnesota is now in the red zone of the Montana 15-yard line. Matt Chima dropping a throw. His Cincinnati Vultures are down 7-3 in the second. 3rd down and 7 for Doug Falk, and he is sacked. Tried to get rid of it, but was ruled down. That'll be a 38-yard field goal coming up for Minnesota and would be our first team in double digits tonight. Maverick M3, great question. How will the playoff schedule look like? So Tuesday, September 16th, that's 2 weeks from tonight, we will have our first night of wild card. What you will see on the screen is you will see a Western Conference game on the left, an Eastern Conference game on the right, and then you'll see a box of our commentary and the playoff brackets and all that good stuff, as that that field goal rather for Minnesota is good, so 10-38 off the board. But me and one other broadcaster on our crew will kind of be calling those games simultaneously. We'll bounce back and forth. We'll be analyzing things. We'll be calling out all the plays. So think about it like as a hybrid between game night and prime time. So we'll have 2 games on the screen going in the wild card round. Once we get out of the wild card round, then every game will be highlighted primetime matchup. The quarterfinals will have 2 on one night, 2 on the other. Semifinals will have a doubleheader on one night, and then of course the championship, and we'll have pregame and halftime and postgame for that as well. So yeah, it's that's kind of a look at the playoffs, and we're looking forward to it. Cincinnati is in the red zone. Any other questions about the playoffs, don't hesitate to ask. We kind of have we don't have time to kill necessarily, but none of the seeds of these teams are not going to move outside of Cincinnati losing, Motor City winning, and some crazy fudgy math. But I'm 99.9% sure that Motor City cannot catch Cincinnati in that 3rd tiebreaker. So, the Vultures can't rest on their laurels, but I think they can rest fairly easily as Larry Seitz has a first down to the 47-yard line for Dakota. It's 7-5, Rhinos over Huskies, 7-3, Dragons over Vultures, and it is has Cincinnati a 17-yard pickup down to the 4-yard line. Warren Murray with the catch. And it's 10-3 Minnesota on top of Montana at the 44-yard line. Michael Cirillo asking about VFN 2026. I think on the UFL side, there are things, and you guys are welcome to provide your feedback in the chat as I'm just kind of talking about it. But I think there are things that worked and there are things that didn't. I think that Cincinnati's got a 4-yard touchdown. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 are off the board here early in here on game night. What a wild sequence here of Hugo numbers, as he had a couple of guys wide open for a score. Did Mac Chima. And Cincinnati will retake the lead at 10-7. But there were some things that I think worked in the UFL in 2025. I think that game night and primetime, our format for how we presented games, I think has worked even better than I had anticipated. We know that we want to have commentators on every single game, but we also know that with the size of the league and the size of the schedule that we present, it's not really that practical. And hopefully everybody enjoyed being on game night just as much as you did on primetime. Hugo was obviously a huge success for everyone around the UFL, and in 2026, I think I'd like to integrate it more as a VFN feature than just a UFL feature. I'd like for people that are participating in both leagues to be able to participate for winnings in their respective progression systems. I think that involving more people in what we have going on the channel is important. We have a lot of events and we have a lot of content to offer here on VFN, and anytime we can get you interested in more of the things that we are airing, whether it's your team or not, you know, I think that is valuable. As Cincinnati just got an interception, so things go from bad to worse for Chicago. They allow a touchdown and then throw a pick. Cincinnati's had a bunch of nobodies catching touchdowns and interceptions. Tony Horn Jr. is not a nobody. He just caught a score from 11 yards out. That was a beautiful contested catch for Dakota. Another number off the board, sub 20 here on Yugo so far tonight. So Robert, just a little bit of an interesting note about how Yugo worked. There were a couple different things. It was very well received at the SFL convention. Of course, just like it was here this year with the UFL when it first started. You know, there's some apprehension, there's some unsure, you know, and confused people. But once they got a hang of it, it was the most attended game block specifically of the SFL convention. And so as Montana kicks a 51-yard field goal, that is good. And now 6 is off the board. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 off the board here on game night tonight. That is wild. And 7, it was also missing off the board. So now we've got 7 up there. We just need an 8 and a 9 to round it out. And Portland could get that 8 if they just get a field goal. Montana could get that 9 if they just got a field goal. But one of the things that I realized, so I don't know if you guys remember, but when we had the power outage, Albuquerque and Salt Lake had to be moved. And so we had 2 primetime games on our 2 systems here at VFN headquarters. And we were doing bingo that night, and it was extremely stressful not having all of the games right in front of me on the screen to track Yugo. So it goes to show that anytime that the SFL has a double block going on, it makes Yugo pretty impossible. But any other time that we don't have a double block of games going on, you know, we'd like to integrate both leagues into all of those streams and all of those broadcasts. This is a VFN initiative to, you know, just keep people engaged in things that do not necessarily specifically involve their player. So you can expect some type of integration there in 2026. But back to the UFL, you know, there were some things that worked. There were some things that didn't. I want to see more engagement in locker rooms after losses. This is my fault for thinking that, as that is a touchdown as well for Cincinnati. That's a 24-yard strike. Matt Green, the numbers are flying tonight. If you are playing Yugo tonight, I feel like you are going to have a very productive evening heading into the postseason, because this is even abnormal for a regular night. 16 called numbers already. All 3 games still have plenty of time here in the first half of play. But, you know, I'd like to see more engagement after losses. I would come in, you know, in the 11th hour and try to make some suggestions. But I want to get that conversation started early with teams. I want teams to embrace the fact that they lost, and I want you to tell me what you saw that you didn't like. And that's going to make my job easier, and that's going to make the adjustments matter that much more. Because it's fresh in your mind what happened in that game that was upsetting, you know, watching your squad play. And so jumping on top of that as soon as games are over and getting sort of that raw reaction and getting sort of that, well, what are we going to do about it next approach, I think is something that we really want to change around here in 2026. Another thing, obviously, the schedule was challenging for us, and it's always going to be a challenge, but we have ways to make it better. We have to be cognizant of the fact that, you know, if you play the first night of the week and the week lasts 12 days, you need to play the first night of the next week as well, if that week is also going to last 12 days, just to try to minimize the amount of time between games. Sometimes this season we had a team play 2 games in 6 days, and then they wouldn't play for 24 days. That can't happen. We don't want that to happen. I mean, obviously there were some schedule issues, but but some schedule changes, I should say. But I think we struck a much better balance in the fall than we did in the spring with how we were operating. We made that change on the fly, and I think it was a positive for us. So just structuring the schedule to where your opponents are kind of playing around the same time that you need to play in that next week, and everything's all set up for everybody to just have a little bit more of a pleasant experience about when your games are going to be played and at the frequency in which they're being played. So those are obviously apparel's a big thing for us. It's been a struggle. We're working really hard behind the scenes, but I think overestimated the amount of time it was going to take to launch 32 stores with 7 to 8 products at launch. You're talking about over 230 items to be designed and to be approved and to be put together properly by the manufacturer. So I know that that's a big initiative in 2026 as well. I probably need to check in on the chat here just to make sure I get to everybody. As Mike Roberts goes down the field, if we're paying attention here to game night, Cincinnati has jumped out. 17 is also off the board. I'm trying to keep up with the flurry of numbers that we've been getting here tonight. So Cincinnati is up 17-7 over Chicago. Portland has a second down and goal at the 8-yard line of Dakota. It's 14-5 there. It's 10-6 in Montana, and Minnesota is also in the red zone at the Montana 15-yard line as Doug Falk fires that to the 10. That should be enough for a first down. Manuel Blackman is on the run on second and goal, but only gets a yard. Third down coming up for Portland, and now Chicago is in the red zone. So we have 3 different games in the red zone right now, and we stay in Sioux Falls where it's third down and goal at the 7, but now we hit the 2-minute warning there. .130 to go in Minnesota, or for Minnesota, I should say. Doug Falk looking for a touchdown from 10 yards out, going to take off and runs. He is hit at the 3. Portland to the back of the end zone, and it's dropped. Wow, that looked like a surefire touchdown, and Davian Fort may have just had his first drop the entire season. Fort, one of the sure-handed players in the league, and that is a credit as Dalton Brown gets a 3-yard touchdown. Minnesota has gone up by 10. That is a credit to Rick Kuhn knocking that ball away in the back of the end zone. A heck of a defensive play. And it looks like we might get our 8 as Chicago is at the 13-yard line. The 24-yard field goal for Portland is good. So it's 14-8 in South Dakota. Robert says, I think people being engaged in other games is a massive boon for the VFN community. Miles says, I think you'd have to figure out the amount of games before the bingo card is wiped. One game in the SFL most likely won't be enough for a bingo. That's very true. So just a little behind the scenes for you guys, which is something we might also do differently next year, as Chicago's got a 13-yard touchdown. So the way it works is that per the company that we use to generate bingo cards, you can generate new cards every 5 days, or you can reset the distribution of your existing cards every 5 days. And so that's why sometimes you'll have the same cards Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, but then you might have a new card for Friday and then a new card for next Tuesday, because I'm able to reset them. I think what we're going to do next year in 2026 is we're going to, as Chicago's extra point is good, we're going to purchase multiple rounds of cards. And so if we have 3 different rounds of cards, that means that Friday, Saturday, and Sunday you can have all new different cards for those games. So we'll have multiple sets in which we will randomly distribute out to people, and that way you don't end up by coincidence with the same card, or you don't have to worry about going back to the same card that you used 3 days ago or anything like that, and we're just able to constantly cycle through those links. So that's something that that's something I think we can improve it, because I think you're right, Miles. I think that, the SFL may be slightly lower scoring, although, the UFL is not a bunch of shootouts by any means. But I agree. You could have some lower scoring games or less opportunities for numbers there. So JJ, we still have the SFL. The SFL is in its 25th season. We have both leagues on our network, as Mac Chima is 13 of 16 for 130 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. He's played a great game. Chicago's offense has played a great game, 17-14. That's a good one over there. All 3 teams are out of the red zone. Montana is approaching the 50 as all 3 teams, well, Cincinnati's almost about to be, are in no huddle. Portland Dakota just went 5 and out, I think, and they're going to have to punt the football away. So Dakota gets a stop, just a 6-point game there. That pass was off the mark. Tyler says if Salt Lake don't make it to the chip, it'll be a failure. At this point, they've been so dominant this regular season. I would tend to agree, Tyler. They got to win 4 games to win a championship. One of the things that we wanted to establish in the inaugural season of the UFL is just because you're the #1 seed doesn't mean that you get an easier road. You still got to go out there and win 4 games just like anybody else, because we expected and got the parity in the UFL that we were looking for this season. The 4th worst record in the UFL this season, won 5 games. So it wasn't all bad all season long, even at the bottom of the standings for teams like Chicago and Montana and Minnesota, who are playing out the stretch of their season tonight. 7 is listed twice. My bad. I must have just missed it off my sheet, Ron. Good catch. Oh, my chat just reset. UFL needs to have injuries next season to make it realistic. It is interesting, Tyler. I mean, obviously, we feel like injuries are very realistic and a part of simulation football, but especially in the first season, especially considering sometimes that you might go 12, 15, 18 days without playing, to finally get there and, to get hurt is, kind of deflating. And one of the biggest reasons that the SFL has injuries is because there are so many players. Injuries give an opportunity for other players to play in most cases, or give an opportunity maybe for the lesser coach team to pull off an upset or come away with a big-time win. Because life needs a little bit of randomness in it to make it exciting. Speaking of randomness to make it exciting, Montana's long field goal from 51 yards is no good, wide to the right, so it looks like the Silvertips will trail 17-6 going into the locker room. Portland doesn't do anything with their 3 and out, so they got to punt the football away back to the Rhinos. Meanwhile, Chicago just got an interception. That may be gone. The Dragons, just before the half, are going to take the lead. Cincinnati was up 17-7 2 ramblings ago by me. And Lawyer Mason lawyers up and takes Cincinnati to the house, giving them a deficit just before the break. Tony Diaz, that's really funny. Injuries being healed for a Yugo win. That would be so exciting in a real game if I could put a player back on the field after they got hurt. Unfortunately, I can't do that because that's actually a really great idea. But Dakota and Portland are to the half, 14-8. And off the surprising first defensive touchdown of the night here on Game Night, Chicago has taken a 21-17 lead over the Vultures, who've won 3 straight. Charles Doherty says drops and saves should only be used against your upcoming opponents. Drops and boosts should only last for 1 game. Yeah, one of the big reasons why it doesn't is because it makes for twice the adjustments. So when the boosts and drops happen, you have to raise them up, and then you have to put them back. And not only do you have to do that in the game, but you have to do that on the sheet as well. So it essentially doubles the workload. I'm not saying that it's not a bad idea, or that it's a bad idea, because it's not. But it's just it's more of a workload situation than it is a this is how we want it to be long term, if that makes any sense. Oh, 24 is listed twice too? Man, you're right. What am I doing? Too much yapping. But I mean, this was a great place to have these conversations, because we just don't have a lot of games today that are super meaningful. Liam Sykes, 10 carries, 66 yards. Meaningful, obviously, for wins and losses, but to the playoff picture. Mac Chima with 45 seconds to go in the first half gets bamboozled in the backfield. 3rd down and 14 coming up. And Chicago's taking timeouts to try to get the ball back. All right, 8's up there. $5 super chat from Jesse. CJ does an amazing job. Win or lose, every team looks great. Player cards, custom fields, and tailored stadiums, the art of the UFL is incredible. We appreciate that, Jesse, and I'm sure CJ does as well. Without his mod, without his tireless work for 5 years to make this all look like it does, this is what a quality mod looks like. This is what a professional mod looks like, and that's what we want to see, across our leagues on our channel. We want to see mods that when you open up the game, you go, wow, this looks really, really good. We've reached that in certain spaces in the SFL, but there's so much more work to be done that can improve the mod itself on that product. Very optimistic about what we can do in the future with all that. As Dakota gets it up to the Portland 38-yard line. We've started the third in both Montana and Dakota. We have 33 seconds left in Chicago in the first half. 21-17. Chicago's on top. They're kind of running it out here with 9 seconds to go. Billy Flagg on the run to the Portland 29-yard line as Doug Falk dumps that pass off. Down to 2 seconds. Chicago's just going to hand it off to Corey Preston, who's going to dance. Corey Preston is going to get away with 1 second to go in the first half. Preston stretching for the pylon, touchdown! And a fumble at the same time, recovered by Montana, taken to the house for a score. You've got to be kidding me. Corey Preston, 91 yards before the break. Just crossing the pylon, we get a look at it as Brady knocked it over. And then Doug Falk hit from behind, stripped. And a 51 plus, we'll call it 52-yard fumble, scoop and score for Montana. A 91-yard touchdown for Corey Preston as Chicago takes a 10-point lead and then gets their extra point blocked. There goes Cincinnati down the field past the 31-yard line. They can't score. Oh, Naisha Ingram caught from behind, and that's how the first half ends in Chicago. Now Montana's going for 2. The handoff to Williams. That 2-point conversion is good. 123 rushing and passing yards for Chicago in the first half, averaging nearly 12 yards a play. The Dragons busted open in the second quarter. And Cincinnati's got to be scratching their heads, winners of 3 straight. This is a 49-yard field goal for Dakota, as we've got to get caught up on a whole bunch of stuff here. 49-yard field goal for Dakota is good. So that's 49 off the board. We had back-to-back 51-plus touchdown. So that's not going to do anybody any good from a Yugo perspective. But 27 is now off the board. That is Chicago's score. And then I think we got everything else wrapped up. So we are up to 21 called numbers, and our last game is just starting the second half here tonight. And Robert, I know that New York started 80 points in the hole, but you know that was all based on activity of the teams at the moment. Now New York had a target on their back because they were the defending champions. It'll be interesting to see what happens this offseason, but you know that's where activity comes in the offseason. We understand that there will probably be a little bit of a dip in activity in the offseason, but that's when teams can take advantage. You don't rest on your laurels because games are won in the offseason. Games are won and lost in the offseason. A lot of coaches will tell you that. And so it's important to stay active and stay engaged, and we'll try to do our best here at the UFL to do that in your locker rooms and in the community all offseason long as Dalton Brown gets a carry for Minnesota. They are across the 50-yard line. So Tyler, I'm not sure if we'll have shows for the UFL. We'll certainly have content. I don't know if we're going to focus on the content in terms of social posts or Discord posts or website content or what exactly we're going to do. But we're going to leave that up to the community as we'll be asking for some feedback amongst our players and you know, and teams. And so if you want to you know, stay involved, be engaged, be on the lookout for that as the regular season and postseason start to wind down. Blackman's pass is caught at the 40-yard line for the Huskies, picking up 16. Let's go. Yeah, you love the Cam podcast, Earl. I don't get to do this very often, but it's nice hanging out with all of you here tonight. Just watching some good football. We had an exciting end of that first half sequence. Doesn't get any better than that. No worries, Tony. The chat is not the chat is not delayed. I am delayed in getting to the chat. Juan, you were saying we need 21. I think you're right. I think you're right. But does anyone remember where the 21 came from? Oh, it was the Chicago score. No. Yeah, Chicago went up 21-17, right? Deep shot for Chima down the sideline. That is incomplete. Let's go. Let's do this. Tennessee-Dallas Friday should be a great game. You know, Tennessee is in the playoffs, but they're trying to figure out what their seeding is going to be. Dallas is in the playoffs, but they're trying to figure out what their seeding is going to be, and we won't know those answers until that final game. It's going to depend on what Miami does in the early block. El Paso, Austin, Denver, Albuquerque are all set. Flip outside for Minnesota, down to the 10. Adam needed a 28. That is a bad beat. As the extra point was blocked. On the set, Mike 57. Go on. Yeah, so that's another thing, Miles, with New York having the double boost as a power-up. You know, some of the power-ups worked like we wanted. Minnesota touchdown. The Chippers go back up by 2 scores. That was of the 7-yard variety. Some of the power-ups really worked. Some of them did not. We want to balance that next season by making those power-ups more impactful. For example, before we started all this, Houston's power-up was that their boosts are toughness-based. But toughness only prevents toughness. Let me say that. Let me rephrase that. Toughness helps you heal from an injury faster. But without injuries, that power-up is really meaningless. So that's just an example. So we hope to provide some more balance in those power-ups and help them trigger more naturally. It was really difficult for us to keep up with all of the manual labor behind the scenes, getting all of these boosts and drops in constantly. We'd love to, over the long term, create an automated function or feature where, you know, if we update the game, we can load that roster somewhere, and then that roster can display, you know, on our website that shows what numbers moved up or down. You know, we have some ideas for that, but that's ultimately what we'd like to see long term, because the power-ups are fun, but it was just hard to initiate. For example, Cincinnati's was, you know, if they won against the spread, they're a favorite tonight by 2.5 points, so they'd have to win by 3. But when Cincinnati's in prime time, we don't have a spread available for that game. And so it's hard to apply. Just little things like that that we learned along the way. So I think the power-ups are going to be getting a refresh for a lot of teams, and we'll try to make those more impactful as the season goes along. Mac Chima, deep ball to the Chicago 18-yard line. That's good enough for a Cincinnati first down. As the Vultures try to climb back in this all of a sudden shootout. You know, Chicago in the last 3 games this season has scored 31, 38, 27, and now 27 points here today. If you haven't been paying close enough attention to the Chicago Dragons over the last 4 weeks, I mean, they have been playing some much better football out here, and right now they lead the Great Lakes Division leader by 10. As Billy Flagg goes long, that pass is knocked away. Portland trying to hang around, but Dakota, since they got that first touchdown, they've been in control of that ball game.
Hey, we got to get this stop here, D.
Miles asks, as Cincinnati has to punt. Chicago won the challenge on the sideline. I kind of looked away because usually teams do not win that sideline possession challenge, but Chicago won it, so Cincinnati actually had to punt the football away. What a brilliant challenge from the Dragons. Miles asks, has there ever been any thoughts on bringing in owners or front office for teams to handle off-season and trades during the season? Could save some of the SFL holdouts who like more control. I think that I think what we're looking for there, Miles, is we're looking for reward to match participation. So if you're a player on your team, oh, Cincinnati just recovered a fumble. Hold that thought. Cincinnati back in the red zone before I could even take the red frame off the screen. Did Preston cough this football up? Oh, that was Ingram that forced the fumble, but I think Preston's going to be down. And Chicago might have to burn their second challenge. But I think they're going to win their second in a row. So, Miles, for example, I think that's going to be challenged. Let's just wait just a second. Blake Green is sacked. Montana trailing by 10 as they about the end of the fourth quarter. So, for example, if you've got players on your team that are voting every week, whether it be off season or in season, that should matter. We want to boost those players up. We want to reward you for your participation, and you know, just make your player more impactful. Essentially, you become a team captain, and you become sort of that figurehead of the team. We celebrate that. socially and during games and during broadcasts and things like that, it would be great for, potential team captains to kind of join me in the middle of a broadcast to talk about how they feel their team is doing tonight at that time, or whatever the case may be. So I think that's kind of the idea. We would like to start a referral program, and that's a part of that sort of captainship. As players bring in other players into the league, getting signing bonuses for doing that, not only for the players that you bring in, but for your own personal player as well. And then, hopefully those captains become more impactful as we continue to push this league. We've got a couple marketing ideas in the works for the off season. When you have a product like this that's brand new, it's kind of throwing pasta at the wall, trying to figure out exactly what's going to work for us and what the consumers are looking for out there. But we're going to let our beautiful brands do the talking in our home markets and try to get somewhere with that. The Chicago Dragons play in a city with 2 million people in it. All we need is 20 to have a team full of Chicago Dragons ready to fight for their city and don their gear and all that kind of stuff. So we're looking into things, and obviously if a bunch of new players are coming on board, it's going to be instrumental and important that sim football veterans can help the league show all of the new players the ropes and show them how it works and how much fun it can be and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of how I see the off season rolling out in terms of impactful players on respective teams. We just need to honor and reward guys like Jacob Vaughn in Chicago, who, he might be Chicago's only player. Emmanuel Blackman might be Portland's only player right now, but they are active every week, and they are there for their teams and ready for a rebuild in both Portland and Chicago. So that's going to be exciting to see what happens there. Ron says, bad idea. Touchdown for Montana. That's another 1-yard score, our third 1-yard touchdown of the evening, and Montana's right back in this thing, 24-21 with 10 minutes to go. Iggy says, hire someone who's good at making plugins. Yeah, there's a lot of smart people out there, and we'd love to get some new tools to help us be successful. I agree, Tyler, on the Chicago defensive side of things. I think the offense is all worked out as Jacob Vaughn is talking to his defensive teammates. As I say that, Chicago has to punt the football away. Yeah, and Jesse, that's kind of our approach too. We want this to be engaging for the player, and we want it to be player first. We want the players to feel, like they have a voice in everything that's going on. As best as we can distribute that, and we'll continue to work on distributing that. Not that it's bad for players not to have the biggest voice in the locker room, as Chicago just got an interception. Spencer takes it away. So there's that Dragon defense that has been struggling, getting a turnover. And the Vultures might be in a little bit of trouble here. Down 10, they give up the football. But the whole purpose of the UFL is to just be different than its SFL counterpart here on VFN. We want to provide a different atmosphere and a different product, not to be better or worse than anybody, but to be different, because it's good to have variety in life, and it's good to have choices. Look at Corey Preston's numbers: 12 carries, 157 yards, and a touchdown. I think Outside the Box wants a game summary. I think Minnesota up on Montana 24-21, 9:50 to go in the fourth quarter. Dakota's up on Portland 17-8, 9:08 to go in the fourth quarter. And Chicago leads 27-17. The Dragons have the football in Cincinnati territory, trying to extend their lead, and Mike Roberts has the Dragons in the red zone again at the 15-yard line. First down, Chicago. That's Sabrayo Mebane with another great catch. We'll also be bringing on staff to help with content and to help with our statistics on our website. It's been a lot to keep up with everything, and you know, we will continue to invest in trying to make the UFL great in 2026.
Ready?
Ron, no, it's not. You know, there are things we want to expand the options and opportunities, you know, for premium users. But but we also want to reward activity, and so there's two components to what we are trying to achieve. We want to reward activity, and we want to reward our biggest supporters here at the UFL as well. So, you know, striking a good balance with all that to make you feel like that's worthwhile is certainly valuable to us, no doubt.
Ready? Ready? Let's pick it up. It's our time, guys. Our time. Let's get off the field.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, Miles. And our hope is that we can get some fresh blood in and combine some sim football veterans with some new fresh faces to our product. You know, hopefully we're able to achieve and accomplish that in you know, in the months leading up to the off season as teams prepare from a personnel perspective. You know, we don't need 15 players on a team in November. We would like 15 players on a team in February, but the players that are here are going to help shape that team in February, as Chicago's now up to a 2nd and goal on the 3, and so the members that are here become extremely impactful, you know, to next season, and your vote is certainly going to affect the outcome of how these teams reload and rebuild out here, as Mike Roberts on a 2nd and goal from the 3 is going to fire into the end zone. That pass is nearly deflected, or is deflected, nearly intercepted. Jesse, another thing that we want to do, I'm glad you brought that up, is we want to make it a little bit more specific. People are spoiled for choice on our website. We want you to go to our website and be able to see the top 5 players available, regardless of their overall rating. I think that's key. That is a touchdown, Lamelico Smith from 3 yards out for Chicago, and the Chicago Dragons, for the 3rd time in their last 4 games, have scored over 30 points. And I'm not so sure that Cincinnati is going to win this thing, which would give Motor City that still 0.1% chance to win the division with a win tonight in prime time. Chris Curtis and Eric Vincent standing by for that monster game in Wisconsin between the 7-8 Stags and the 8-7 Mustangs, as that extra point is good. 34 is off the board, and finally we have a new number. We kind of hit a drought there for a while, but we're back at it, and Dakota is back in the red zone. There's only 4:08 left in that game. The Rhinos have taken care of business. The first meeting with Portland was extremely close, but Dakota has played a much more complete game today. I haven't really seen Dakota make any mistakes in this ball game. Maybe not the most explosive game that they'd like to have, but still playing well regardless. Minnesota is in the red zone. But yeah, Jesse, I mean, it's not about overalls. It's not about showing people the 15 different options they have. You know, what team do you represent? And based on what we saw last season, these guys are really great players, regardless of their rating, are really great for the scheme in which they're playing in. And so hopefully we can, you know, we can make player claiming more attractive in that way. Just make it a little more user-friendly. In the back of the end zone for Minnesota, that pass was incomplete. So it's 3rd down and 7 now for the Chippers, and Minnesota's actually challenging. That was a catch. And Hawkins, I don't think he got the second foot in. Deep ball for Cincinnati, almost hauled in by one hand with Warren Murray. 3rd down and 11. We'll see if Dakota can manage to get in the end zone for a score. They will. Touchdown, Rhinos. That's Tony Horn Jr. again, and that has to feel good for Dakota, getting him in the end zone twice. That was a 16-yard score. We have only had, this is crazy here tonight. We have had every number 1 through 18 called except 9 and 12. We're up to 24 called numbers. Dalton Brown takes the toss, and that is a touchdown for Minnesota. And look at Dakota trying to go for 2 to put it away. Billy Flagg into the end zone. Got it. Some people ask, why do you go for 2 in that situation as Dakota gets a 25 off the board? You go for 2 in that situation because if you don't get it, it's still a 2-score game. But if you do get it, it's a 3-score game. It's worth the risk. That 2-point try, good for Tamario Nixon. The extra point for Minnesota is good. That's 31 off the board. And let's check that Dalton Brown run as well. That was a 10-play, 71-yard drive for Minnesota. On a 3rd down and 7, they run a toss from 17 yards out, and it works to perfection. Is there going to be a pool of incoming rookies for future players to claim, Jesse? So what I talked about it a little earlier in the broadcast. The idea that I floated out earlier was homegrown players, which essentially allow the players of the team to build new players for their roster and sort of build a player custom so that you kind of have investment in not only a new player on the team, but a player that eventually gets claimed by another user so that you can say to that user, that's a player that I created. And based on the positioning in the draft or based on the positioning of the standings is how talented that player that you create might be. As Cincinnati goes long again, back-to-back times, they go deep into the end zone, and now it's 4th down for the Vultures, and I think they got to go for it. Portland's down by 3 scores. They got to go. There's only 2 minutes left in that game. Montana is trailing by 10, 31-21 with under 5 minutes to go as Minnesota seeks their 5th win of the season. Cincinnati has a 1st down or a 4th down to keep the game alive here with 11:25 to go in the 4th. And Chima's pass is bad. Only completing 60% of his passes. That's a turnover on down. Chicago takes over. And the really fascinating thing about Cincinnati right now is they are 0-6 following any kind of adjustments that they've made this season. So they were 6-0. Oh, Dakota, beautiful deflected interception. Holloway with the pick. That's the 2nd interception for Emmanuel Blackman. And that's going to wrap things up in Sioux Falls as Montana just went for it on 4th down. They don't get it. So Minnesota's going to take over up 10. Sadell Gardner with 11 grabs for 122 yards in the final game of the Chipper season. That'll affect his positioning in free agency. But anyway, back to the homegrown players idea. It would give you a chance to say, I created that player that you just claimed. And it would give you investment in even another player on the field on your team, whether it's controlled by you or not. So that was the idea there for the draft. But let me know what you think in the chat. We continue to seek feedback on these ideas. Henry Jones says, is there a line of code that when there's a game-winning touchdown with no time left in regulation, the game ends? I'm pretty sure it should, yeah. I'm trying to think if we've had that situation before. I think Minnesota played Dakota earlier this season. Time expired. Minnesota or Dakota scored the game-winning touchdown with zeros on the clock, and they won the game. So I don't think there's anything going on wrong with that. We do have a couple of things that we're going to adjust before the playoffs, and we're going to give some reports on that, just for the late game situational stuff. But by and large, I don't know about you guys, but I feel like we're in a pretty good spot. There's a couple of things that we need to clean up, but gameplay this season has been one of our strong points, and we knew it was going to be, considering that we can change the code. Is Madden 20 coming back for Season 2, says Tyler? Yes, absolutely. That's what the mod's built on. It took 5 years to build. We're not going anywhere. I know CJ has a number of things that he wants to, just little tiny bugs and things to fix on the mod ahead of the 2026 season. Doug Falk into the end zone. That pass is incomplete. It's 2nd down and goal for Minnesota. So right now, Minnesota leads by 10. They have the football. Chicago leads by 17. They have the football. And Dakota just won, 25-8. If you're keeping track at home, that means that Dakota is now 11-5. They are your number 3 seed. That's a 4-yard touchdown for the Minnesota Chippers. So they're going to extend their lead out to 37-21. Chicago's kicking a field goal. This is a 43-yard field goal, and that puts Chicago up by 20. So 37 and 43 are off the board. Some late Yugo numbers there. And if you've got Yugos, I am getting to them in the chat. I'm sure we've got something. 28 called numbers here tonight as Minnesota takes a 38-21 advantage. Oh, man, I'm falling behind on the chat. Cirillo says, if a team plays in a primetime game, that team is ineligible for a primetime slot the next week. I'd like to see more teams represented more often. I think that's a great suggestion. We certainly want to find balance with our primetime polling, but we also want to balance putting the best games out there. I think eliminating one game so that it's down to 3 possibilities instead of 4 will help curb that problem. Yeah, Robert, that was the whole, there's a balance, there's a give and take. That's a good point too. You don't want to have a 6-0 versus 6-0 be ineligible for some reason because they were in primetime last week, but maybe the league could make an exception. I mentioned earlier in the season that if a game has a vote margin of, 30% or 40% where it's clearly the favorite, then the league would go with the favorite. But if it's not clearly the favorite, then you go with the matchup that did not have the primetime teams the previous week, something like that. All right, now we're getting the bingos. Annie Beaverhausen, card 7. Let's see. You have 4 corners, and man, you are 2 numbers away from a triple bingo, a 41 and a 45. Good luck, Annie. 6:32 still to go in Chicago here. Cincinnati's down 20. They're not done yet. Rob Ems has a diagonal on card 47. Let's check that. That is true from left to right, so that's 2 Yugos here tonight. Yugo number 89 for Saeed. That's a diagonal from left to right going down to up. That is confirmed. As long as, are you just playing tonight? Oh no, no, okay, yeah, you're good. Sorry, Saeed, I was getting you confused with Juan, the two linebackers. At least SFL linebackers in action.
Let's go. Hey, we got Mike, number 50.
Card 4 for Porsche. Let's see. Card 4, diagonal. That is a winner. You need 23 for a double diagonal. We only have 1 minute left in You Go tonight. Cincinnati's in the no huddle. They're down by 20, trying to get something more on the board. 24's already off the board. Chima has a first down to T-Roy Gaines up to the 29-yard line. And Anthony pointing out that it looks like Montana will get the the number 1 overall pick because Chicago is, well, they're looking like they're going to win this game. Montana's inside the 10, down to the red zone, and Cincinnati just took a sack. As I was saying earlier, what does Cincinnati do? Off a loss going into the playoffs, they have not won following a loss this season, except for one time where they reset all of their adjustments and just went back to what they were at the beginning of the season. So really interesting stuff here as Matt Green gets up to the 16-yard line with 5 minutes to go in the fourth.
Here we go.
You go 79 for Michael Percoco. As that pass is knocked away from Chima. Diagonal left to right. That is confirmed for Percoco. Audio mods would be sick. Yeah, Anthony, that is certainly a high priority item for us. As Green throws to the back of the end zone, that's a 7-yard touchdown for Montana. That makes it 28, could potentially come off the board. I think Wiseman needed 28. Now we're down to 4.5 to go in the fourth, but I'll go ahead and allow it since we don't have a competitive game right now. Charles asked if teams have the same playbook next season. Well, no, hold on everything. Cincinnati just scored. That's a 25-yard touchdown. 25's already off the board and 24's off the board, but we're going to give you 28. That's your final You Go number of the night, is 28 and 29 called numbers here tonight. One off, tying a UFL record. So 1:09 to go in Montana, 38-28 Minnesota on top. Cincinnati scores. It's not over yet in Chicago, 37-24, 4:18 left in that ball game. Going back to the playbook thing, yes, teams will have the same playbook, but something that's important to understand about playbook is that there's tons of plays in each book that are not being called, that are not high priority, that are not part of the game plan. There are hundreds of plays in each and every book, and so it's about, well, bouncing ball. Montana is going to recover the onside kick, so hold everything in Montana as the Silvertips try and rally, although they have no reason to because Chicago right now is currently surrendering that number 1 selection. As Blake Green goes long, wide open was the receiver, but standing out of bounds. So there's a lot of different things we can do in the offseason, and one of the things that I would like to do with each team is kind of show what the playbook looks like on the back end. You know, what type of schemes and what type of things would you like to make a high priority or low priority just to start the season, and then, you know, continue to adjust the playbook from there. So that's the idea. The reason why we wouldn't move around playbooks and things like that is, again, it's workload. It makes it easier from a hexing standpoint to have each playbook associated with each team, so that we're able to just load up the playbook adjustments in the mod and go. It's one less step for me to make a mistake on trying to assign different books to different teams. Hugo card 85 for Adam Wiseman. And that's a diagonal bottom left to right. Chicago's got a first down, so Hugo has closed Those are your final numbers there. And again, your updated Week 17 playoff picture. We knew coming into tonight as Montana turns it over on downs. We knew coming into the night that Dakota was the 3, and they will continue to be the 3. Cincinnati's going to fall to 9-7. So Motor City has a golden opportunity to make things interesting against the Vultures here tonight. I don't think that Motor City is going to be able to clinch the division regardless, based on the RPI third tiebreaker. But we'll just have to see what the Cincinnati result does to their resume, and what these most recent results do to their resume, if it moves the needle at all or not. Now Cincinnati's calling timeouts here. They want a chance to get the football back. This thing is not over in Chicago as the Vultures try to fight back. Motor City still has a chance to get to 9-7. Now looking at the tiebreakers in the wild card in the East, Motor City and Rochester, if they were both 9-7. Motor City lost to Rochester 10-8. So the Mustangs would not be able to catch the Pioneers. A very slight chance they could catch Cincinnati, but most likely, if Motor City were to win and improve to 9-7, they would be locked into that 7 seed and take on either Miami or Dallas in the first round of the playoffs.
Watch a slack.
You go 84 for Mr. Doherty. And you got it. Diagonal again from left to right, down to up. Oh, congrats, Charles, on your first Yugo of the season. To your point, Anthony, about voting, there have been times this season, Charles knows all about it, that I ask for feedback and then I don't get any. I want the feedback. It's not personal to me. These are not as Minnesota goes for it on 4th down and doesn't get it, just trying to run out the clock. These are not necessarily, quote, my playbooks. They're just efforts to try to put teams in the best position to succeed. And that is based on player feedback and player voting. The teams that are most active and have the most votes typically tend to harbor the most discussion and end up most successful. Sports Network, thanks for popping in. I can't wait for the playoffs and the start of season 2 of the UFL. Iggy, bingo card number 25. And you got it on the 4 corners. Oh, you needed a 12. And then Iggy, if you would have gotten a 12, you would have had triple bingo. Triple bingo. That would have been perfect. But you'll settle for 1, I suppose. Neil Rivers, card 82. As Matt Chima trying to deliver, and the pass is intercepted on the sideline. Minnesota gets the win. Congrats to the Chippers. They improved to 5-11 on the season. Montana at 3-13. And with that interception, Chicago's going to go 4-12. And officially the Silvertips are your bottom feeders in the inaugural 2025 UFL season. It had to be somebody. Neil, the 4 corners on card 82 is confirmed. Miles saying, what about each division having 4 playbooks to choose from each side of the ball? Man, that's it just seems very cumbersome, Miles. That's more voting. That's more poll. I'll think about it. I consider everything, but I would say that polls, each game night, polls take me over 3 hours. So you're talking about additional polling on top of that. We want to be able to streamline polling by getting that conversation started earlier. If we have 3 game nights a week, that's 9 hours just specifically on polls, that I'm spending. And I want to make sure that I'm spending my time as best I can for all of you. if that's more polls, then that's more polls. But I don't know if y'all want me to continue to do more things behind the scenes, or if you guys want to prefer more content and more engaging activities throughout the week. So that's what we're going to try to figure out and balance out, through surveys this offseason to, figure out the path going forward. Look at Corey Preston's night. 27 carries for 218 yards. That is the 6th most rushing yards in a game by any running back this season, and a new career high for Corey Preston. Good for him. Still unclaimed, the new Chicago starting running back. Oh, but no game plan adjustments. I see, Miles. So you're saying instead of going through and getting specific with the game plan adjustments, there could be a particular playbook that you would want to play for, or that you would want to have at your disposal in that particular matchup. That's something. That's an interesting route to go down. I think that game plan adjustments have done a lot to better our product. But, there may come a time that eventually we get all of these playbooks sort of optimized to be playing the best that they can play. And then it's kind of hard to say that the game plan is the specific flaw, or the playbook, that is the specific flaw. And maybe there is another playbook that teams might feel better suit them, and, that's based on the data and information available, right? So yeah, that's an interesting point, Miles, and something that we could consider. But it is 2 minutes to kick off to primetime, and we thank you all for your chatter in the chat, getting us through, a night of games that unfortunately, not only did they not matter a ton in the playoff race, but none of the games were particularly close tonight, as Minnesota beats Montana 38-28. Dakota takes care of business against Portland. I believe that was a 25-8 final. You have to forgive me, there was a lot going on. Let's see, Portland and Dakota. Yeah, 25-8 was the final score. I got it right. Why do I doubt myself? And Chicago upset Cincinnati 40-24. The Vultures are still in the playoffs. We'll see them likely. Well, actually, we will see them against the St. Louis Rivermen, as long as Motor City doesn't pull something crazy. We'll have more of that and more about that on tonight's primetime matchup. Thanks for being here on UFL Game Night. One night of the regular season remaining on Friday, and 2 primetime games left. That is 5 games left in the UFL regular season. Game 252 coming up next here on VFN. Chris Curtis and Eric Vincent have the call. Motor City and Milwaukee. This game means everything. The winner is in the playoffs. The loser goes home. That's coming up next on UFL Primetime. Don't go anywhere.